All right, welcome back to the DeFi House, and in this one, I want to show you a very cool website that shows more or less hidden LP alpha, and this works on Orca pools on Solana, of course. So basically, this filters out the pools on Orca and shows you the ones with the highest fees and volume, so to speak. So basically, you go to this website, simulate.hawkside.co, exactly like that, and you go to radar and you will see this window, top Orca pools last 24 hours. You can change that to last 7 days, for example. It's going to show you that as well, or last 24 hours. And basically, the way you use this tool is simply to scan through and see what's happening on Orca pools and what kind of TV volumes and fees those pools are generating. And then you go to Orca itself and find that pool yourself and see what kind of information you can get. And it's usually beneficial because sometimes on those smaller launches with smaller TVLs but very high volume, you tend to miss those pools on Orca or in general because you simply haven't been looking for them. You haven't been searching for them, or that project or coin never catch your eye on Twitter or something like that. So these tools, these mini aggregators, so to speak, are really helpful to find those hidden pools with high volume and very high fees. And usually they are a bit more volatile, especially the asset. The first asset is going to be a bit more volatile in most cases. So keep this in mind that it's going to be short-term opportunities at most. So we have Solve Hardcoin. Always, this pool is generating always a very good fees. The Hardcoin one. So it's definitely something to keep in mind. And if you go to Orca, right, and if you go to pools, you can find the Hardcoins versus Solana pool, and you will see that even on -5 +5% pool range, it's paying around 1.8, so I would say around 1% daily on this pool, with even bigger range ±10%, more or less. It's going to be a 0.96, so in reality about 0.6 more or less, which is not too bad, knowing that Fartcoin in most cases, if you look from a bit of a lower time frame perspective, is usually moving sideways. So the way it usually moves, it does some sort of a movement, in this case for example, down, sideways, down, sideways. The same happens vice versa, up, sideways, etc., etc. So you can definitely deploy capital into a pretty tight ranges and basically earn high fees and without massive risks of hardcoin dropping 20, 30, 40% to the downside and you being stuck with a pretty high impermanent loss if the fees are not covering it. So yeah, but Fartcoin is one of those pools that is pretty cool because it's mostly going sideways. And if you know the advanced strategies, you utilizing leverage before stepping into the LP pools, you can do 2, 3, 4 times the leverage, and you can farm very high fees very quickly, and then get out of the pool fairly after just a day or two. And even if it goes out of range, you are still covered and in net profit even after that impermanent loss. So definitely this tool can show you some interesting coins, pups, some sort of a pups coin, so you can go back to the Sol, Orca, right, pumps, pups, sorry, pups, and you will see some of the pools. Of course, these are a very tiny one. Pups versus Sol is a very tiny pool. So there is not much going on, but it's a very small TVL, very high risk, so to speak. But if you just have some fun capital, some available capital that you want to just play around and more or less become a scalper of liquidity provision, so to speak, you can definitely participate on things like that. But it's not my recommendation when you're just getting started to get into very small pools. You usually want to find the biggest pools with the highest TVL, highest volume, and at least as not as much as possible with low volatility. So blue chip assets, Sol, ETH, SUI, Wrapped Bitcoin, Coinbase Bitcoin, anything else like that that is not extremely volatile. This PUPS is most likely very volatile from at least what you can see from the chart, which is 4 hourly chart. It's not super bad, but it's still fairly volatile. Some of the candlesticks are more like 15 to 20%. But in this case, if you have something like that, 11% and 12% range, which you should be in for quite a while based on the historical price action, this is paying you 3%. But keep in mind that you cannot deposit high amounts because the TVL itself and the volume is not that high. So with just 1, 2 to 5K, you're going to be fine. But if you want to deposit 10, 20, 50K into the pool, keep in mind that you're going to be part of the majority of the TVL and you're going to affect the price, etc. So there is not very much of a trading happening, but if it happens, it's a 2% fee rate pool, so it's going to be fairly feelable fees right away. Yeah, let's go back to the tool. USDC versus SPX, something like that. Let's see, SPX. Yeah, right. So it's gonna be volume 2 million, TVL 1.2 million is not too bad. It's not too bad. So with the range of plus minus 10%, which is, well, the performance of this is not that good, so to speak. It's usually, but right now it seems like it's getting stabilized within this range. So I believe 9% down, 10% up is not too bad, and still 1.6%. So you can once again quickly gain. You can make it even less, more or less 5%. Stay in this for expect or hope more or less to stay in range for a day or two. You will get quite a good amount of fees, and you can get out. And it shouldn't move that much because most of the candlesticks are less than 2 to 3% movement. So you can definitely cover even part of the impermanent loss, because 4% down, you will get 3.6. In reality, about 2.4 maybe percent in yield. So basically, you're going to be fairly quickly covering all of the potential impermanent loss in case this thing starts to go down and goes out of range for you. So basically, that's the tool that I want to show you, simulate.hofsci.co. And it's basically, it's not, I wouldn't specifically recommend watching volume fees, TVL numbers right here. They're not always very accurate, but at least you go through these pools and you can find names of the coins that you've never saw before, but they could be a fairly decent opportunity to farm some quick fees, because there will be high fees and high yield. So it's going to be short-term opportunities. You get in, you farm for a day or two as much as possible, and you get out. And if some of the coins like AI16Z, of course, Fartcoin, they offer leverage as well on specific protocols, then you can even amplify the returns Of course, amplify the risk as well, but those returns usually cover the impermanent loss if you stay in pool for at least a day. So yeah, that's the tool. Hopefully it's going to be beneficial for some. I'm not using this on a very regular basis, but when I'm doing my research, when I'm looking for a new pools, when I have some fresh capital available to allocate to riskier, more like DGen type of pools, then of course, why not? You can farm some quick fees, some quick profits from the yielding opportunities on these smaller pools that are way more riskier, way more volatile, but at the same time, they offer pretty high returns. So hopefully it was beneficial and will be beneficial moving forward. And of course, as always, I will see you on the next video.